welcome to another episode of the James Loud Podcast. And today our special guest is Nick from Grow World Ag, founder of Canna Cribs, serial entrepreneur. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show, man. We've been talking about doing this for a while. I'm part of Grow World as an ambassador. You've done amazing stuff with Grow World. I've known about you since Canna Cribs. My friend Autumn did some Canna Cribs episodes.
Yeah,
she was a host
Autumn
over there.
Carsey.
Yeah, that's how we met originally. I believe at MJ Biz a few years back.
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite parts about this industry, right? We all kind of meet each other, one person or even at MJ Biz at the end of the year.
Right.
You just run into each other and I love that. You know, it's a tight knit group.
I love MJ Biz.
Yeah.
MJ Biz is special. Last year was a really great MJ Biz, and I feel like it wasn't as well attended maybe as some of the previous ones, but everybody that was there was serious about doing business.
Yeah.
Real serious. And I feel like there was a focus on the business side. There wasn't a lot of window shoppers or tire kickers because you get a lot of those people. There were people serious about doing consulting. I mean, I had a lot of great meetings, and it wasn't just let's go to Vegas and have fun, which I've had good times with that as well at MJ, but like it was a lot more serious, and the quality of the people there, it was really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually got my start, 2016 at MJ Biz when I was just launching Growers Network. I think maybe we had launched that month. I think it was like around November at that time. And compared to last year, so 2023, they split the halls.
Yeah.
So you have all post-harvest and more of the bigger hall. And then cultivation was, a smaller hall. And I think some people kind of got lost. Some people thought it was just that one hall, and they're like, "Oh, where's my favorite lighting brand or whatever?"
Right.
So yeah, I definitely saw a drop off in kind of foot traffic. But with everything going on, I really do hope that this year it's going to be bigger. And actually, I don't know if I told you this, but we have a massive community activation.
Absolutely. I'm a part of it, I hope.
You're going to be part of it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing some podcast episodes with some big names there. It should be a lot of fun. And we've been talking about doing a dinner party.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just excited for Vegas this year. It's going to be a blast. And I think we've built this, we as in me part of this bigger network of people and, yourself included, but this really amazing group of people, hardworking individuals that are very successful in their own right. And we're all working together. And you guys have been a platform for myself on our show and through social media, connecting me with guys like Horizon Lightlift. It's like one of many examples. Canna, Horizon Lightlift, Beanstalk, they just came on the show. Like I would never have thought about calling them up and asking them to come on the show if it wasn't for you guys. And so you've offered this amazing platform, which I've really benefited from. I think we've mutually benefited from. And it's just great because we have this community of great people. I can just start shooting off names like Sergio, from the Connect community. We got Matt from Terra International, these great guys. And there's just so many more just like them that all have similar goals and see the industry through a similar lens. And I think that's so important.
It really is. I mean, community is everything. The first company I started, Growers Network, it was about that, right? It was community for people growing at home.
Yeah.
And Grow World, is a little bit more global as a community and a little bit more on the commercial leaning side, but same ethos. Bring the right people in a safe environment online and with Sergio's help in person with Connect events, and just step out of their way, right? Just bring them together, provide a format and also help each other monetize.
Yeah.
One of my biggest challenges in starting, kind of going back 2016, 2017 in Canna Cribs days was finding sponsors.
Yeah.
Right. So many years later, once I left and started Grow World, I wanted to have almost like an agency, right? Where we could represent podcasts and Instagram influencers and even garden tours. We work with Justin and Jeremy at Growing Exposed. So really just bringing different people together and helping them do business together is what we specialize in.
Right. And I mean, highlighting what they do best, which is so great. You know, so how did you get your start in the industry? This is a pretty amazing journey you've been on here.
Yeah, it really has been. So I'm 31 right now. I started at the age of 23, and I'm going to bring you way, way, way back. So I was going to the University of Arizona. I had all these bunch of entrepreneurial endeavors pre-cannabis, right? Because once you get in, you never get out, right?
Right.
So I had a bunch of companies in college. I had a entrepreneurship ecosystem. And about sophomore, junior year, I entered into this place called the Pirate Mansion. I moved in. It was almost like a commune of crazy people like myself that wanted to work until 3, 4 a.m. and maybe not go to the bars and actually build something with our lives. So we had about 18 entrepreneurs. Every Sunday we would have an open house. People would come kind of pitch their company and get feedback. This is when I was like 19-ish, 20.
Wow.
So it was modeled actually after a place not too far away from here called the Rainbow Mansion in San Francisco, where Facebook, Google, all these big tech would send their like kind of first year freshmen, right?
Totally heard about that.
There you go. So I moved into this house, and that's where I met my last business partner, Nate Lipton. So he was just starting Grower's House at the time.
Wow.
I was finishing school. I had worked at a drone company, again, like the furthest away from cannabis. We were building fleet management software for drones. And then that kind of got to a place where I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to drop out and move to Silicon Valley. I'd rather just finish school. And at that point, it was around my senior year now. And I was roommates with Nate. So Nate was building up Grower's House, this e-commerce website. If someone's not familiar, they have everything under the sun for your grow operation, right? Like an online hydro store. And we were talking about building a community for the people that shopped at Grower's House. Yep. So that was really the early beginnings. And honestly, we talked about it for a while. I think the turning point for me is I met his father. So his father was like a 70-year-old serial entrepreneur from Brooklyn, just like super strong character. His name's Paulie. He had built up this massive kind of e-commerce before e-commerce was a thing type company.
Right.
And I was like, I was finishing up during my senior year, and I was best friends with Nate, met his dad, and I was like, I think he can mentor me. I think I can learn a lot from him. So I actually decided to stay in Tucson, build growersnetwork.org from the ground up, within kind of as like a sister company to Grower's House, because they were separate. And about a year into that, James, I started Canna Cribs as a way to drive traffic, like internally as a way to drive traffic to Grower's House and Growers Network. Externally, of course, to educate, show all the different technology and ways to grow.
Nice. Yeah, Canna Cribs is a special show. You kind of really set the bar for what could be done within the realm of cannabis, using social media, using that platform, highlighting growers, and the garden tours were amazing.
Thank you.
So yeah, and then you built it up and sold it, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. So about 2021, mind you, we had some partners in the business that were with Paulie for one, right? He was kind of getting 74, 75. I think it was kind of his time. He wanted to get out. Nate and myself I was like 26. I think Nate was like 31 at the time, my age now. And, as a group, we thought it would be the right time around 2020 to start looking at bringing on some outside investors. For one, to provide a liquidity event for some of the partners that maybe wanted to cash in their chips. And for two, to really accelerate the growth of our business lines.
Right.
So at the time, we had Grower's House, Growers Network, Canna Cribs, and it was kind of like the content and community that drove the commerce. And it was symbiotic, right? Mm-hmm. So around 2021 was the time that we brought on 2 outside private equity groups. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I go back to age because I'm so blessed to have learned these lessons early on, and have gone through this. I mean, some entrepreneurs go their whole life going to a sale.
Yeah, you're way too young to have done all this stuff. It's amazing.
It was great, and I wouldn't have wanted to change anything. And now I kind of have everything in front of me. I have really strong partnerships all across the board. And luckily, my entire film crew came with me to
Amazing.
Grow World. So we actually created a new show where we get to travel around the world and show off the different cannabis communities that are kind of pushing that envelope.
Yeah, and you went to one of my favorite countries, Colombia, recently. How was that?
Oh man, we're gonna have to have a couple podcasts to dive into all of that.
Right.
But we specifically went to Bogota. We went to the city, and then just north, like Nemocon or Tocancipá area, like 5 hours north of the city. We filmed Foliomed. We filmed Tarkus, which is an extraction lab. I would say one of the top extraction labs in the country. Clever Leafs, they have this massive facility, and then Plena Global. So we got a really good spectrum of the different types of growers out in that market. And I mean, one of the biggest things that I think we learned as an entire film crew and that we are kind of showing the world is that Colombia doesn't have a domestic market. Right? Like no dispensaries.
Nope.
Like even just on the drive over here, I spotted like 2 or 3 dispensaries, right? But in Colombia, it's 100% for export.
Right.
And that was fascinating to me because you walk downtown and everyone's smoking, everyone's having a good time. There's different like tolerance zones, as they call it. There's even some kind of like Spanish social club vibes going on. We went to one of them to film.
Lots of passionate people. There's
lots
people that are super passionate.
Yeah.
I was at I spoke at MJ Biz in Colombia a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
And I've toured over there at Earth's Healing and some other places in Cali.
Yeah.
And had really good, I had an amazing experience when I was there. Just a really welcome, they really welcome Californians and people from the US.
They do.
But they're just super passionate about the cannabis. They're just, it's amazing seeing. I feel like a lot of it reminds me of the early days of Prop 215.
That's right. Yeah, we talked about that a lot, actually. I kind of see ourselves, us gringos up here, we're almost like time travelers.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going down there and letting them know, like, hey, this is what the future is going to look like. But also, flip.
Yeah.
Roses moved from California down to Colombia.
Right.
And we were in the rose producing region of Colombia. And all the surrounding farms, specifically to one called Foliomed, was one of the largest rose growers in the world. And they shared a lot of employees. They shared cultivation styles. And that was a big takeaway for me, James, was that potentially we're pretty bullish on this, but the future of Colombian cannabis will be consumed right here in the US.
Yeah.
And all those growers out there that I just spent the last 7-8 years filming through Canna Cribs and Deep Roots with Autumn, a lot of them, I think, should be asking the big question about what's next, right? What's going to differentiate us? And, we were talking about this earlier, and I've been chatting with Sergio the past couple of days a lot about this. I truly believe the future of the American market, genetics.
100%. That's why I'm here. That's why I do what I do, because I believe the same thing. There's so many different revenue streams within the industry, but genetics, and even within genetics, there's different revenue streams. I mean, there's licensing, there's nursery, there's the nursery model, there's the seeds, tissue culture can be under the same category. But what it's going to come down to that's going to separate one person from the next is going to be genetics and the quality of genetics that you have. And are you staying on top of the trends, or are you going to fall behind the trends?
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about the future. I think there's a lot of people that are very pessimistic, but I think we're in interesting times, and there's so many different directions the market can go, and we're in a very unstable market. And I'm really looking forward to, once we start getting a grasp on the stable market, where the direction of the genetics are going to go. Yeah,
I'm right there with you. After Colombia, one last note on this. Through the Grow World platform, we are allowing any member qualified around the world to sample the menu from these Colombian facilities. Wow. So like as of right now, you can go sign up for flour, different oils, etc. And if you're in a qualified country that can legally import and sell, you can test the menu. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we created the Grow World Tour, was to show off our members' facilities.
That's wild. That's really cool.
Yeah. And where I was going with this is upcoming, we have the Sacramento tour. So I flew in for this podcast and the Sacramento tour coming up in the next couple weeks. We're going to film the best of the best growers. And really, this is our almost like a bittersweet farewell to the American market from a filming standpoint. Obviously, a lot of our crew still lives here, but we're really looking at what's that global story. So we're going to Spain, we're going to Portugal in February, and of course, we're going to film the iconic Spannabis event. Hopefully you'll be out there again.
I will be there. I'm there every year. Yeah, we'll do a dinner. I'm going to do a dinner again. We do some amazing dinners, and you'll get to meet my amazing friends from all over the world.
Nice.
And everybody's in town for Spannabis. I wouldn't say all, but the majority of my friends come in from all over the world to come hang out, for a week or two. I try to do 2 weeks.
Okay.
I love it.
We'll be out there for 3 weeks. It'll be my first time. It'll be over my birthday. So we're going to have some fun.
Oh, it's a blast. It's one of the best events, if not the best event of the year. And I mean, I heard Germany is now popping.
That's
Mary
next.
Jane, you got to hit Mary Jane too.
We're going there in June.
Yep.
So we're doing Vegas in December.
Yep.
We're doing Spannabis in kind of March, February, and then we're doing Germany in June with Mary Jane. So we're literally we're filming the 3 biggest markets and trade shows in the world.
Well, and they're all just going to keep growing. I missed Germany this year, and I'm sad that I did, but I did it because I had to focus on my facility. And what I'm doing here, I think, supersedes everything else. Like, this has to fall in line. The genetics is first. And then I love Spannabis. I was able to get seeds out there. I was able to do an event with Sergio.
Nice.
We did a Connect event out there. We're going to do another one next year, I'm sure.
We live streamed that through Grow World.
Yes. Yeah,
I remember
it was
seeing
really
you
cool.
there.
And there was some really cool people that showed up to talk. I just can't speak highly enough about Sergio and what he's done for the Connect community. I mean, all of us as being part of the Connect community, which I think is really good. He's able to highlight people in a way that, you get to see the good and the best, within the lighting industry. So within the and then you can you're able to debate it on a friendly level. I like how he's able to keep it, we have competition, but it's not really competition. We're only in competition with ourselves at the end of the day. At least that's how I look at it.
That's right.
Some of these guys will argue that, but I feel like, when you're talking market share, they might argue it. But I feel like I'm only in competition with myself, trying to make better genetics. Everything I do circles around genetics and it points back to genetics. I have a breeding book. Really, that's my resume, right? Like, you read that book, you want to know about me, go buy my book. That's who I am, right? And then same thing, we do tissue culture here, but that's basically so we can have clean genetics.
Mm-hmm.
So we offer tissue culture services through my partner, Justin at Apical Biotech. That's a value-added service for the genetics, right? So like, if you want us to bank your genetics, you want us to clean and bank your genetics, we'll do that. You want me to breed with your genetics? Well, we need to clean them first because I want everything pest and pathogen free. And these things are so important moving forward.
It's everything.
It's everything, and being able to maintain the quality of your genetics over time, that's so important. And I think a lot of people are missing that step. A lot of people are missing the step in the pheno hunting process, not doing it at a big enough scale, not testing it in enough environments. But then that's one of those things like, what are you breeding for? What's the purpose? Are you a solutions-based company or are you just breeding to breed to make money, right? And that's what differentiates the best guys out there. Do similar things as myself in the sense that they're looking for specific solutions to problems that we have in the industry. So, and I see the problems with pests and pathogens and also genetics moving forward. We're crossing a whole bunch of different things. We do about 300 outcrosses a year. And within those 300 outcrosses, we select a handful of those and offer them to the market. But we're constantly testing and testing and testing. And then also, not just testing the plants, but testing those plants in different environments, testing them with different nutrients. And this is the stuff that gets me excited about coming to work every day. If I wasn't able to do this, I would probably do something else. I have a background in culinary arts. I was a chef. I've done I work for Charles Schwab in the city.
Really?
I've done a whole bunch of different things in my life. And this is the thing that gets me the most excited, and cannabis, I think we're on the forefront of cannabis. You're on the forefront. I'm on the forefront. All our friends are on the forefront of the future of cannabis.
Beautiful thing.
It is. And it's really exciting. Seeing guys like Kevin and Tim over at Faven, and what they're doing. And I look at the R&D that they're doing, and it gets me excited about doing R&D, and it's like talking to those guys over in SAC. It's like they're pushing the boundaries on what you can do with R&D, and really they think of things similar to how I do, is where I'm not ever satisfied. It's kind of some people think it's a shitty thing that I'm never happy. And I think I'm never happy. I always feel like even my book, I'm like, I did a good job on my book. I know I did a good job. We put a lot of time and energy, but it could still be better. And everything, if you look at it from that lens where you don't settle for whatever you have, you look at ways you can improve it to make it better. That's how you become successful.
That's right. And I preach to my team more than they'd like to hear Kaizen.
Yeah.
The Japanese philosophy of just constant self-improvement, 1% better, whether it's a version of your book, an event for Sergio, something that an episode we're filming, just there's always room for improvement. And you're exactly right. I have found that at the top, it's collaboration.
Yeah.
At the bottom, it's competition.
Right.
Right. And I am extremely grateful that we've made it. We're at the top of this market, and we're able to work with each other. And doesn't matter if there's two growers side by side competing for the same market share, they're collaborating. Yeah. They're trading genetics. They're trading, cultivation methodologies, new tech. They're jumping up on a panel at Connect and sharing their findings. That's where we succeed, is when we work together.
Yeah. And I see guys in Humboldt doing it, like Huckleberry Hill Farms and Ridgeline. They could they could consider themselves competition, but they don't. They collaborate, they work together, they're creating genetics together. That community is amazing. They're pushing forward, on the genetics, on the terroir, on the breeding side, and doing it in their environment up there. And I'm a big fan of the whole Emerald Triangle and what people are doing up there and how I can elevate them. It's like being able to collaborate with them, being able to work with them. As a Californian and as someone who has respect for where this plant came from, I feel like there's a lot of credit that those guys should be getting for what they did in the legacy market, evolving into what they're doing in the current market.
Absolutely. And that's, each country we go to film, we kind of have a couple of takeaways to tell the story. And why we're here right now is to tell the epicenter.
Yeah.
Where it all started, the culture, the movement, the genetics.
The best weed still comes from here.
It's right here.
The best genetics. I mean, I would say genetics are created in a lot of places that are good now, but the epicenter, there's a huge concentration, especially this Bay Area, this part of the center of California, because, people call us Northern California, but we're still kind of in the middle here. But between LA and Seattle, I mean, the West Coast, it included all. Like,
West Coast, best coast for the whole world.
Yeah. And people are looking at everything that we do and wanting that. Sometimes they don't even care what it is. They just want that. They want, you'll see that in Europe a lot. They want the California weed. Sometimes It's not even grown in California, but they want the California weed.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, in Colombia, one of the largest facilities we went to tour, Clever Leaves, they threw out, this great spread of their menu of everything. And the proudest genetics that they had were from Cali. And even one of their head growers had a James Loud sticker. I texted you that photo.
Really cool.
On his phone that they just picked up from Spanibus at that time. So you're exactly right. I mean, we're at the epicenter up here, and the rest of the world wants to grow out our menu.
Yeah.
Right. It's like we are the ones with the Kobe beef, and every restaurant in the world wants to serve it.
Right.
And I think we should embrace that, but never forget how to monetize it at the same time. All those legacy homies,
Stop
we need to help
on your
them.
Laurels. Yeah. I mean, I think it's so important that we're constantly looking for improvement, because the market will change. Are you going to be ready for it?
Yeah.
Are you going to be ready for what's next? Purple candy gas will not last forever. I promise you, purple candy gas will not last forever. I like candy and I like gas and I like these dessert strains. And I think they're going to be around. I don't think they're ever going to completely go away, but they're not always going to be on top.
Right.
The market fluctuates.
It's always changing.
Yeah. I mean, and there's so many different things that we can chase, and this is all like, what are we talking about? Extraction? Are we talking about flower? commercially produced flower or boutique flower. I mean, there's so many different things. And I breed for all those. And so we try to go in several different directions, and we have this huge library of genetics to work with, but it's kind of like a big paintbrush, right? So our paintbrush with all these colors. And now we can take all those colors, we can blend them together, and we're using software and data to do it, which is pretty cool.
I love to hear that. Yeah, you were walking me through the facility earlier and showing me how you can every harvest and every crop be able to see that delta.
Oh, yeah.
And chase those improvements. I love to see that.
Well, and data collection is so huge. I think a lot of people ignore the fact that they should be collecting a lot of data. We collect over 50 points of data per cultivar.
Wow.
And so, and not only that, now we're sending genetics out, we're sending tissue culture or plants out in the form of clones out to different regions. And so we're getting different data depending on the climate, on specific cultivars. And then we can start really developing trends. And Big Ag has been doing this for a long time. There's a lot of big companies that are doing this that aren't even talking about it. It's like, we're one of the little guys. I'm one of the little guys out there, but I feel like we're doing it at a really high level, and we try to do it at a higher level every day. So we constantly are trying to improve what we're doing. But there's guys like Fave Enlightening. There's guys like Terra International. We look at our friends over there with United Nutrients and Kaya. I R&D everything. So I'm not married to any one nutrient or any light or any one thing, because I'm constantly trying to test. We do A/B testing against everything. And thanks to you guys, you've made it possible to take it to the next level, because because of the connections that I have through Grow World, I've been able to get more stuff to R&D and really been able to explain why I do it and get people on board. Horizon Lifts. They're the perfect example. I totally believe in their product. I think David over there and Rod, they're great people. They have an amazing product. It just needs to get out there. People need to start seeing what I'm doing with it. I sell genetics. So when people see that James is selling genetics, and this is how you optimize your PPFD. You dial in your levels, your PAR, using a light lift. Now, especially if you're, HPS is great. You can also dial in your temperatures and other things, right? HPS is beautiful. I like HPS flower, but that's kind of going away. But I'm still going to collect the data from it. And I think that's super important. But really, when we're talking about the light lift and where you can increase your PPFD, lowering it down, or you can basically lower your lights down and turn down the percentage of intensity, which isn't always recommended, but I've found it to be just fine, right? So there's some people that they're hating on it. They're like, oh, you're not going to get the spectrum right.
Try it.
Yeah, I'm trying it. And I'm getting really good results.
That's our motto, right? Is try before you buy. And the entire Grow World platform, which is free for commercial growers anywhere around the world to join in less than 5 minutes, is to try before you buy, right? Just like how you started in your garage and now you're running massive facilities or, craft facilities, run products side by side, right? What you just mentioned, you have 4 of our brands in your facility today. Horizon Lift, Kaya, Canna, United, all Grodan. Okay, you have a lot.
We have a lot.
You have like 7 or 8 Grow World vendors in your facility today.
We do, and I like supporting Grow World for one thing, but I also like the quality of the people that you bring to the table. And so even Beanstalk, which I probably won't use in my facility
there
here,
you go.
I'm having my cultivation partners try Beanstalk and see if it works for them, right? So I'm part of a bigger network.
Yep.
I don't do cultivation. We don't sell any flower. That's not part of my model at all, but I want to empower the cultivators. I have cultivation partners that grow our genetics out, and I want to empower them to get better results. Also, I can't do all the pheno hunting myself. I have to rely on other people. It's so much bigger than one person. I've always liked partnerships. I always will like partnerships. I don't care how many times I get burned. Eventually you learn. And I've learned over time to trust but verify. And I think that's so huge.
It's a good motto.
Trust but verify with everything. And partners is another one. Like I've gone through partners. I've had bad partnerships. I've had great partnerships. I started out life actually with cannabis, with growing in my garage. I started out with the best partnership ever. It was like I grew pot before. I grew when I was a kid. I grew in closets and stuff like that. But when I started going to the garage, I partnered with one of my best friends, and it was what set me up for the future and believing in partnerships and they could work because we had such a good relationship. And, you know, there was honesty, there was trust. He was able to move the flower for a good price. I was able to put the work in and the time in, and it was like we balanced each other out.
It's a good partnership right there.
Yeah. And I found that you don't want a partner that's exactly like you or someone that wants to be you, right? Because that's what happens sometimes. They either want to be you or you want to be them or you want to be the same. And you want someone that's a balance to that.
Yeah.
And then it's a beautiful thing, right? Because then they're like filling in the gaps that you couldn't fill in. And like my partner now with the logo, you know, and also he has the mindset to put me back on track. Sometimes I get focused like, oh, we should be doing this because this will make more money. And he's like, no, we need to stick to the plan.
The shiny object syndrome.
Yeah, you know what? I have a lot of friends that, well, I call it the Barracuda syndrome, right?
Oh,
the shiny object in the ocean. They're always chasing that next shiny object. Before they finish one, they're on to the next one.
Yeah.
And some people can be successful at that. I am not one. I need to have blinders on. I need, you know, and like I can have these other things in the peripheral. We can have the book. We have a nursery. But all this stuff goes back to the genetics, right? At the end of the day, I'm a genetics company and I want to have genetics that separate myself from everybody else. I want better quality genetics. We're looking for stuff that works in a good commercial environment. So there has to be that commercial application to the genetics, right? But also stuff that checks all the boxes, right? And that can be different for different environments, right? Different environments, different climates. I do autoflowers. Those are specifically for outdoor. There's not a lot of people that I sell autoflower that they grow indoor. There's a handful, or the guys online that might buy them, you know, buy the 10 pack.
Right.
Those guys will grow indoors, right?
Yeah.
And that's great. And I love that autoflower market. But when I sell 50,000 seeds to somebody or 75,000 or 100,000 seeds, they are not putting them indoors. This is going out in the fields. And so collecting data and learning, okay, this doesn't work really well here. You know, we need to breed something that works better in places that get cold or places that get extremely hot. It's the extremes that really kind of throw it off.
Right. And when you look at the future, let's say like of the James Loud Genetics brand, do you see yourself walking in similar steps of like a Syngenta or some behemoth genetics company?
No, I mean, I think that there will be a day where we partner with another company, an MSO, or with a bigger company. I mean, we may sell someday. I'm totally okay with selling our, you know, because it's my brand. It has my name on it, but it has to be the right person that's going to do right by the genetics. It's something I believe in. You know, this is my legacy, right? All this stuff. I'm 47 years old, so I'm a little bit older than you, and I've really been thinking a lot about legacy. And like, you're going to get into this once you hit 40. You'll be like, especially you, because you've done so much, right? Because you've already done so much as somebody who's 30 years old, that by the time you hit 40, you're way ahead of the people that are hitting 40 with you. You're going to be in the mindset of somebody that's probably much older. But it's like, what do I leave behind for the world that has my stamp on it? You know, so I'm looking at generations too, like my breeding book and these things. I hope that I set the bar for generations ahead of me, you know, for 50 or 100 years. Because in 100 years, no one's going to really remember most of our names. Like, what do we do? What do we do here? And that's okay.
Only the Franklins and the,
but then the guy, well, no, but even the guys creating podcasts, now we have this platform, right? We have these Canna Cribs shows. We have the James Loud podcast. And maybe they won't know me necessarily, but maybe there'll be something in one of these podcasts that resonates with people and that will be remembered forever.
That's special.
You know, and we're part of this greater thing.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's Canna Cribs or whether it's Grow World or your new show, we're part of this thing that's so much bigger than ourselves. And that's the new form of telling history.
It is.
Right. And so 100 years from now, 500 years from now, I don't know about 500 years from now, because who knows, but definitely 100 years from now or 200 years from now, there will be people that will want to look back and go, what happened in this time in
time
the world?
capsule.
And we need, you know, we want to investigate why they were thinking the way they were thinking and why it was so fucked up is part of it. You know, because it in certain ways, it's pretty fucked up right now. And it'll be a great way for somebody to go, okay, well, this dude spent 32 years in prison. Let's pull up all the data on this guy, you know, Uncle Rick. He's one of my good friends, and he's super important to the bigger story. You know, he spent 32 calendar years in prison
Wow.
over a plant. They didn't even have evidence, real evidence. It was all circumstantial.
Mm-hmm.
And he spent 32 years, you know, and I think 37 years total in his life. And then guys like Luke Scarmazzo, why did he go to prison? You know, he had a dispensary. He said, F the feds or whatever, you know, but like, I think these things are people will be curious about these things for a long time because things are going to change. And the things always change. You know, I think things get better, things get worse, things get better, things get worse throughout history.
Yeah.
You know, and then with environmental changes, who knows what's going to happen?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I look at things through the lens, at least with filming and podcasts, of are you telling the past, present, or future?
Yeah.
And the entire Canna Cribs show was the present, right? It was a time capsule. If someone just downloaded start to finish all of those episodes and just put it in a time capsule, threw it in the vault, and 100 years from now, watch those videos, that was a really quick snapshot of an American grower's perspective from 2015 to 2025, you know, just like a 10-year run right there.
Right.
So yeah, I think, and for the new Grow World show, we're really telling the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal, is to just get kind of a scratching of the surface of how they're doing it today, but really get into their minds of where they're heading.
Mm-hmm.
That way we can start to make actual predictions of what these markets are going to look like. Because I don't know about you, James, but everyone's making projections of when is the US going to legalize? You know, when is this going to happen? When is that going to happen? I actually want to throw some numbers at the board. I want to talk to people that are actually doing it in these different places and work backwards into an answer.
Well, let's dive into some of that right now. What do you think as far as federal legalization? How many more years do we have? And I think that's a specific question that we need to answer a bunch of other questions.
Yeah.
But
I mean, backing into that, we'll kick things off with projections.
Yeah.
You know, everyone used to say 5 to 10 years, 5 to 10 years. But honestly, I really do think 5 years. And hear me out with this. We are a couple months away from an election in the United States of America. I think, I mean, not to, you know, get political here, but I think for the next 4.5 years, it's safe to say there's not going to be any type of legalization. I think whoever's coming in after that, as the pendulum swings, right? I'm pretty confident. I don't bet. I'm not a gambler, but I'm pretty confident.
I'd bet
in that next term, we sure as hell better have more progress than we're at right now.
Yeah.
I see sometimes, you know, we were just talking about Burner, Cookies Burner just getting kicked off Instagram as of yesterday. Yeah. I see us making some forward progress over here, but then other areas we're getting kind of pushed back some.
Right.
For just being who we are, you know, being in this game. So yeah, I mean, federal predictions for the USA, I'm thinking 5 years minimum. Globally, I mean, we have Germany catching on fire right now. I am so excited. I hope we can sync up on calendars and you can make it out there.
Absolutely.
I want to go film the top of the top in the German market. We already have our farms more or less selected for Portugal and a couple clubs in Spain. And I see Spain almost regressing, right? With some stuff going on out there. I see that market regressing. I see Germany really taking over the European market. And I think it's going to be another 10 years, believe it or not, for Colombia to actually have a domestic market and start to take over more.
Yeah. And I think with Colombia, we have to look at what's going to happen with the countries around Colombia. If they all go legal, then that might be, if Brazil goes legal, right? If Brazil goes rec, it's going to change the landscape for everyone in South America.
In the world.
Well, yeah, but especially in South America. Yeah. It's like they're the biggest country in South America. And if they go rec, everyone's going to want to follow suit, including Mexico, which Mexico's kind of on the fence right now anyway. He goes a little bit to the you know, a little to the left, a little to the right. They make a little bit of forward progress, and then they take a couple steps back.
Yeah.
And but then the Caribbean they're embracing everything.
Yeah.
Jamaica's recreational right now, and that's pretty impressive. And there's a lot of, there are other recreational islands, and then there are a lot of medical islands. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Trinidad is decriminalized.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Puerto Rico, amazing, right?
Yeah.
And Puerto Rico is it's technically U.S. too.
Yeah.
And so I love it. I mean, I think that I would like to live in Puerto Rico too.
I was just thinking, sorry, that I want to move there. At least half the year. Are you familiar with Act 20, Act 21 with the IRS?
Mm-hmm.
You are? Okay.
That's exactly, that's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
And I think I like that you're close to everything too.
Yeah.
I like the Caribbean. I really like being down there. My friend Marlon, he's going to be in Costa Rica.
Nice.
Yeah. So he'll be down there.
Some
posted
new
all the
builds
time.
going on down there.
I'm excited about Costa Rica too, like going and visiting him. I've had friends that live down there. South America is exciting to me. I like going to South America, but also I got to explore Asia a little bit more. I'm super excited about Thailand.
Have you been there before?
No.
I haven't either. I really want to go.
So, and I have a lot of friends that are from Asia, and it'd be there's no time like the present.
Yeah.
But I'm so focused on this stuff, but we will be going to Thailand. I have genetics that are being grown in Thailand as we speak.
Wow.
Lots of genetics.
Are you working with Aryan?
Yeah, he's one of my good friends. So one
of your OG best friends right there.
For sure. And he's doing amazing stuff down there. And it's hard because I look at him and he is so happy. When you see someone so happy, him and Yoa that are down there, they are so happy right now. It's really contagious. And it's like, I need to go there because, he's lost weight. He's in super good shape.
Good for him.
He's smiling. He's happy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so Thailand is going well. It's like
just from his demeanor.
Just from his demeanor. And they keep opening more shops. And so it's like, it's great seeing that. I love seeing his success. I love seeing when my friends are successful.
Yeah.
There's no better feeling. It's like one thing when I'm successful, but seeing all my friends, I love it.
It's so much fun when you win together.
It is. It's one thing winning by yourself, but it's one thing, a whole nother thing when you're winning with your friends. It's like, I don't like going out to eat by myself. That's just not my thing, really. I don't enjoy it. It's never been.
I'm right there with you.
But when I go out with my friends, there's always some memorable thing about going out to eat with your friends.
Yeah.
And I'm all about chasing experiences. So
yeah.
It's like, and there's so many different experiences. You can even go to the same restaurant twice or 3 times or 10 times and get a different experience every time you go.
Yeah, I agree. And Thailand, I don't know about you, but that is one of my favorite cuisines in the world.
Yeah.
Thai food.
Yeah, we have good, growing up in the Bay, we got amazing food.
Bet.
So yeah, we have some really, really good Thai food, Vietnamese food, some of the best.
Yeah.
Especially Vietnamese. We might have to go to Vietnamese after.
We have
Thai,
to.
one of the two.
I'm down.
So yeah, there's lots of good food. We have great sushi.
Yeah.
I love sushi.
Note to producer, don't schedule podcasts when we're hungry.
Right. Totally. I was like, everything's running through the brain.
Absolutely, man. So we're going to go to Thailand. Yep. Heiko has been messaging me to go film their newest facility, the new Strain Hunters facility out there. Looks incredible. So I want to do an entire Thai tour, kind of anchored around that facility. Maybe go film a couple other farms.
You got to go
network.
in the fall.
In the fall.
You got to go in the fall. Okay. That's when I'm going this year in the fall.
Okay.
So I'm super excited about that. Yeah. Heiko's an amazing guy too. They're a really good person.
Yeah.
Everybody that works. And that's one thing I respect the most about Aryan. It's like, they're a family. Like I've learned a lot about work culture from Aryan and from Greenhouse Seeds and how they operate, and not just their inner circle of guys, but the people that work at the coffee shops. They're like family. They're like family to me too. I've been friends with them for so long.
Wow.
But just that work culture where you feel like you're a part of something bigger. And when you can make people feel like that, you're going to keep them for a lot longer. I feel like they feel like it's their home. And I want people that work with me to feel like that too. I mean, and it's not easy to do. And as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, it becomes harder and harder to maintain that work culture. When you're a small group of 5 people, it's one thing. But when you have 50 employees, and for them to feel like family and to fight like family is okay too when you're that big, or whatever size, but like that goes along with it. But there's a point where a lot of companies go in they get so big it becomes Google or whatever. And then it's a whole different thing where it's like, corporate. You don't know everybody. It becomes corporate. I saw it happen with Lagunitas, where they slowly went corporate, but they really, like Tony McGee and Jeremy Marshall and my friends, Jimmy that worked there, and my friend Ron. I have so much respect for them, and, you know, also work culture over there, like how they did it and how they kept it real for so long until they got sold to Heineken. And now they're more of a corporation, right?
Right.
But even still, they're not like a regular corporation. But when I went there and it was Google and they got guys riding skateboards down the hall, everybody loved working there. They used to have 420 parties.
Really?
Those guys are very Canna-centric. So as a company, you know, they had Hi-Fi Hops. They had a beer that had.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, and those guys have really pushed the limits. But it's great when you see work culture like that at scale, whether it's Greenhouse, what they're doing, or whether Lagunitas.
Mm-hmm. I aspired to that. I mean, when I was originally creating Canna Cribs, it was after Strain Hunters and Marijuana Mania, and Growing Exposed as well. They were just starting at that time. But really, like, I watched Franco, rest in peace, and Arion and Heiko and that whole crew. I watched their episodes over and over and over again because I was just like, this is my favorite show in the world.
Totally.
Right. But there wasn't really anything on the US that was missing. But that's what I aspired to be is Strain Hunters.
Yeah. I mean, no one's done it quite the same since Strain Hunters, not on that level. And it's like, there's been other good shows. I mean, you got your Canna Cribs, which is its own thing for sure, which is, you set the bar for that. And it was like the new version of Cribs, but with all these decked out grow rooms that had, you know, and I think a lot of people have never seen, they wouldn't have the opportunity to actually go into a grow room like that. And that's what I love about Canna Cribs.
And they still don't, right? Actually, we were sitting across a table similar to this in Seattle at a CannaCon, eating one of the best salmon I ever had in my life, sitting across from Graham Farrar at Glasshouse Farms, right? And Kelly and Ash and a couple of their guys. And they were explaining to us, oh, we have another investor tour. These people want to come visit our farm. It was like a pain for them to just do this tour over and over and over again, and everything that comes with that.
Right.
So that was part of the initial opportunity in filming our pilot episode at the OG Glasshouse Farms, because we went back and filmed their newer facility. But the OG farm in Carpinteria, we filmed that episode for them to show to potential investors, so they didn't have to keep opening their doors every day. So you mix that with a little bit, that was our foot in the door, but you mix that with the inspiration of Strain Hunters, and Burner had, I think, like 3 episodes of Marijuana Mania, or maybe a couple at that time. I was just like, I fucking love these shows and I want to have my own. And that's kind of how Canna Cribs started.
Well, the production value is really high with Canna Cribs. You guys put a lot of effort into making it look amazing.
Thank you, man. Jason Sikorsky, shout out to him. He has been my producer and director since day one. So he did every single Canna Cribs, every single Deep Roots. And then when I started this new channel, this new show, the Grow World Tour, he came along. We have an awesome crew underneath him, but big shout out to him, as well as our lead editor, Bao Nguyen, Vietnamese name. He's been with me since college. He was editing my videos when I was doing hackathons and entrepreneurship events on campus, and we brought him along as our videographer and editor.
Nice.
So I've been similar to those guys with Strain Hunters. I've been with these guys since day one, almost 10 years now. Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. And I love that.
We got our producer. He's been here since the beginning, since episode number 1.
There you go.
And, you know, and I feel like it's great having that and growing and the growing pains and all that stuff, learning those things together. And, you know, we're still constantly improving. I mean, there's just something to be said with working with the same person for a long time. Where you get to know that person, they get to know you.
It's a marriage of sorts.
It is. And there has to be good understanding and good communication. And I mean, I love it.
But you get to really create a body of work, which is like a baby. You're creating a body of work together where you can almost move in a rapid way because you don't have to ask the other person what they're thinking. You already know.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of my favorite parts in working with Jason and my crew is that, when we start filming in a couple of days here for the NorCal tour, other than our call sheet with the time I need to like wake up and be on set, they're running the show. Right. I just show up and talk with amazing people. I have the easiest part.
Yeah.
But the crew, they are the unsung heroes that, really bring this all to life.
Absolutely.
So I would not be here without them. I'd say that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, all this, it just takes so much more than one person. I can't do it all. And I'm blessed to have the team that I have on the growing side, on the book. The book was a team, it's like, I get all the credit for the book. But if you look in there, I mean, even on the cover, it has Reggie Godino's name. He wrote the foreword. He also helped edit the book, challenged me when I was writing to a lot of the things I said to where I could be more specific about it. He really was able to tease some information out of me on, do you mean this or do you mean that? And then we had my editor and we had photographers. We had so many people that, we had a couple of people doing layout. We had graphic design. We have photographers. I had multiple photographers. And same thing with, the genetics. I've had multiple, guys that have worked with me over the years, but my team now is just solid. The cultivation team is badass. These guys, I couldn't do it without them. I'd be so screwed.
Yeah.
Because I can't do it all myself, but they have learned, and I train these guys from the ground up. Right. And so these guys have learned how to do it my way, or, it's now become our way.
Right.
Following SOPs and dialing it in, and a team effort. And it's a fun thing. And like commiserating with these people when it's tough, and celebrating when we're winning. I mean, these are all parts of having a successful business.
That's right. And going around the world, over the next couple of years, I want you to come with us, man.
Yeah.
I want you to bring the crew.
Ryan will do it. I guarantee you.
Are you in?
He loves traveling.
Okay.
Ryan loves traveling. He loves traveling and festivals, man. Those are the two.
We'll make the festival wherever we travel.
Totally.
But that's the future ahead of us, man. We're going to, like I said, Spain, Portugal, Germany, Thailand. I'm really modeling this show after Parts Unknown.
Yeah.
So just like AB had friends come in.
Yeah. So Parts Unknown, Anthony Bourdain is one of my biggest heroes. Him and Joe Rogan, right? So I want to be the hybrid of both of them. I want a cooking show. I want to do a little bit. I've always wanted a cooking show, but Anthony Bourdain, how he traveled the world and got to experience food and shared the world from his lens.
Yeah.
I want to do that with what I do, and that's partially like my version of Joe Rogan is this show. Like I love Joe Rogan, how he questions his guests. He gets amazing, diverse guests like yourself that have their contribution to a much bigger thing, which is the cannabis industry for us.
Right.
And so it's a lot of fun. And a lot of times I smile, like when I really start thinking about what I get to do for a living,
this isn't work,
you
man.
cannot smile.
This isn't work. This is our dream.
No, it's a lifestyle, right?
It's a lifestyle.
We're living a lifestyle. And I'm so proud of all my friends' success. And I'm happy to be here, to be doing what I do. It's just such a blessing.
It is a blessing.
I think there's so many other things that could have happened along the way that would have prevented me from being here today. And it's like, we've overcome all these obstacles to be here. And we're so fortunate to have been born at the time we were born and all these other things.
Yeah. It's so trippy to think back in the past of just one footstep to the left or the right, or one person or this or that, just one little tweak and we wouldn't be here today.
Right. And butterfly effect.
Exactly, man. And people ask, like, oh, if you would go back and change this or that. No, not a damn thing. I love where I'm at right now. I am a combination of a lot of bad decisions as well as good decisions. But you can't have one without the other.
Yeah. I mean, I've done some stupid shit in my life and I've made a lot of mistakes. And I think I've learned a lot from my mistakes, mistakes from childhood on. I've made tons of mistakes. I've learned from them. That's my big takeaway. And I feel like it's made me become a better person, and it's made me know myself a lot better.
Yeah.
And so, and it just keeps getting better, and you get more perspective as you get older. That's the one takeaway that in the last 7 years since I turned 40, the big takeaway was like, oh, I just keep learning more, or I learned how I actually know way less than I thought I did about stuff. Because in my early 20s, I thought I knew everything. I was a know-it-all, and I knew enough to be dangerous, right? In a lot of ways. And I think I'm fairly smart.
What were you doing in your 20s?
So in my 20s, I was growing weed, selling weed. But I always was told that I needed to have another job. Like if, I had
your paper income
mentor, I had to pay taxes, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go to prison for tax evasion, right? If I wanted to live a certain lifestyle, you had to back that up with a paper job. I wasn't one of those dudes who was all in on one thing. And so I worked at Charles Schwab for a little bit. I worked for a company called Solutions Plus and Bank of America. I worked in testing and so basically network engineering. I worked in software distribution, security, all kinds of stuff for these companies. I went from that to getting laid off around 9/11.
Okay.
But I had the most amazing time working with computers. I got flown all around the United States during Y2K and got to test and record systems. And I learned a lot about data collection. And then I was a personal trainer, learned more about data collection, and I'm getting back in shape now, which is great. Finally.
I love
I go in and out of
bro.
shape. But yeah, data collection is so key with everything in life, right? Like, I wish I had a diary from the time I was a kid and filled that thing out religiously, because there's a lot of important stuff. But after that, I was a chef, went to culinary school. And then I was growing, and in the 90s, I was growing the whole time pretty much. I always had plants, different scales, garages. My friends wanted to go into a big warehouse, and that's when we parted ways. I was like, 50 lights is a little too much.
Was that the right decision in hindsight?
It was, because he got busted.
Yeah.
So he got his place got raided and all this stuff. So I never got raided for my grows. I had 8 lighters in the garage. I think we had 10 lighters at one point. But 10 years ago, I was growing, and then in 2018, I had several spots, right? Small warehouses, garages. I had 5 different places I was growing in, doing seed production. I did a little bit of flower cultivation, but even that was like around 2018. It was like hit or miss, And so I was a chef. I was the president of the San Francisco Chefs Association.
Really?
So I worked at Michelin star restaurants. I did all of that. I worked as a line cook, worked as an apprentice.
Wow.
And I apprenticed under some really cool chefs and learned a lot about stuff that I wanted to do, and also stuff on what not to do. You watch other people, and sometimes the takeaway is, I don't want to be an alcoholic, or I don't want to be a fuck up. I've seen people go both directions. I've seen chefs that are amazing, and they're alcoholics, and they have like they're functional, extremely functional alcoholics that can drink so much, and high performing alcoholics. And I'd never wanted to be that. I knew for sure that was one thing I never wanted to be. But I worked at country clubs. I grew weed. I really enjoyed life. So I've always been one of those guys who, if I'm not enjoying life, I need to fucking figure out how to do something.
Yeah, you're not doing it right.
No, but I feel like when you get to a certain point in your life, if things are falling into place, you're on the right path. If they're not, maybe you need to reevaluate.
Yeah. Yeah, people talk about the stars aligning.
Yeah.
Right. And you're exactly right. When you're on the right path, you almost like don't have to try. Just you're a magnet for the right things and the right people to align.
Totally. Well, let's talk about genetics.
Yeah.
And when you first started smoking, what were you smoking on?
Oh man. Let's take it back to Arlington, Washington.
Nice.
When I was probably 7th, 8th grade.
Yeah.
Around there. I don't remember, probably, I don't even remember exactly what it was, some sour diesel or something. But I do remember, I had 2 older brothers, right? So I found one of their stashes, started getting curious, what is this? Started smoking with my best friends. I remember vividly, one of the first times I smoked, didn't get high at all. I think one of the first times I actually did get high, it was we were sitting, it was me and my two best friends. We were sitting on this bridge overlooking the Stillaguamish River in Arlington. And we decided to longboard through the streets. This is like super late at night. And it was just like one of the most magical experiences where you can't really like go back to your normal life as a little kid after that. So maybe I started consuming too young, but it really did shape my life. My dad's been a hippie my whole life. So he really, he traveled the world younger than myself and got to experience the hash of Morocco and down in Colombia and all this. So I kind of grew up listening to those tales a little bit and somewhat following in those footsteps.
Nice. Yeah, I like Washington. I work in Washington. I have cultivation partners there. And House of Cultivar, big brand. I love House of Cultivar. Those are my boys in Seattle. And then my friends in Squim, Canna Organics.
Nice.
I got a lot of friends up there. I love Seattle. Seattle's just so beautiful.
Oh, so beautiful, man. And
in the summer, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, in the summer, not the winter, unless you're shredding.
And 3 months of amazing weather.
Yeah. I grew up on the mountain at Mount Baker, so I broke my first bone. So definitely love the winters up there, but it's not for everyone.
No.
It does get a little cold up there. I actually left. My parents moved me down to Tucson, Arizona when I was about 15. So right around that time, actually Washington was going legal.
Right.
So it's kind of funny. Smoking was kind of looked down upon. It was bad. I shouldn't have been doing it to the outside, to the teachers and the parents and stuff. But once I left, it was kind of like, well, there's actually a business here. And then during, college and finishing out high school in Tucson, it definitely became accepted. So it's just kind of interesting how I was right there at that time.
Yeah, totally. I love the scene in Washington. They've always been so passionate about cannabis. And then I bet it was like such culture shock going into Arizona. Although that was a party town, right? So there was weed in Arizona for sure, especially around Arizona State. It
was different. I was in Tucson. I went to high school for 3 years, finished out down there, and then I went to the University of Arizona in Tucson, but ASU as well. I mean, everyone had the same weed, and it was different, man.
Party schools, lots of party schools.
I went to probably one of the most epic party schools in the world.
Yeah,
I would say during my freshman or sophomore year, I moved into this spot that had the largest outdoor pool. Like, I think it was in Arizona at the time.
Wow.
So you could imagine, every single person was at that pool partying. It was like one of those massive Vegas pools, but you're in college and you're having massive house parties.
Totally.
So that was my school background. I did study. I started some businesses, but I did like to party a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
It is, man. I mean, it's like living in that environment, because I didn't do the dorm route. I just went into houses and stuff.
Yeah.
And again, starting businesses and kind of in the nightlife and stuff before I got into tech and cannabis. You're just always around it. I actually helped start a hookah lounge in college. It was the only place like open till like 4 or 5 a.m. With my homies from Yemen.
Wow.
So that was a whole other kind of cultural thing. I met so many people in college from all around the world.
Yeah, I love the hookah lounge. I love that model too. My friend has a hookah lounge in the city. They do the belly dancing with the hookah.
Wow.
It's called Marrakesh.
Marrakesh.
I've known the guy since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And so, I bought my first car from his uncle.
Wow.
In 1994, maybe 5, something like that.
Yeah.
Subaru XT.
Oh, wow. That's badass.
Yeah. And it went over 100 miles an hour.
That's what mattered.
Yeah, that's what mattered. It was great. Subaru. Yeah, I drove that thing everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, hookahs, I like smoking hookah. I'm not a big tobacco guy, right? So like, I don't like tobacco in the form of a cigarette. I don't really smoke spliffs, although I will hit a spliff or a blunt if there's nothing else. But it's not my go-to.
Right.
I'd rather eat nicotine gum than smoke that shit for the most part. But there's another interesting story about nicotine gum. We'll save that for later. But,
okay.
But yeah, so I mean, even the blunt wrappers, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
But the hookah and cigars, I feel like those are kind of special, and I reserve those for special occasions. I'll still smoke hookah. I love sitting around the
She's
table.
just great.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
tribal.
Mhm.
Those are my first friends from Yemen. I was like 18, 19 around that time in Tucson,
Yeah.
and they introduced me to their world, their
Yeah.
culture. You know, we took off our shoes, we sat in a circle, we drank tea.
Yeah.
You know, we would, you know, bring out the hookah. And I'm still friends with them today. Actually, James, when I was in college, I left the hookah lounge. I was getting involved in the cannabis industry, and I told my friend, I was like, "Yo, Zach, you should get a license in Arizona if you can. Like, the state's going rec. It's going to be a big fucking deal." And he's like, "You know, like I talked with my father and family, and it's just probably not our thing. We're going to
Right.
stick to kind of like the smoke shops and the hookah lounge, etc." Fast forward this year, he's calling me, texting me, "Hey, when are you back in town? Let's talk." He's actually looking to buy a license, a dispensary license in New York.
Wow.
So it's just kind of that full circle, right?
Totally. That's a crazy place too right now with licensing over there
Oh,
and the
man.
bodegas. And it's just
Yeah,
wild. It's
bodega
the wild,
boys.
wild west on the East Coast.
It
It's really
is.
what New York is right now.
Yeah, it is. And he's telling me stories. So he flew out there and he's like, "Nico, I'm not coming home to Tucson until I get my license." And I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
"All right, man. Like, make sure you're talking to the right people." I try to connect him to a couple of people I know out there, but yeah, it seems like a massive market opportunity. But the bodegas and kind of the, you know, influx right now of stores getting kicked out and new ones popping up, it's a
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah, so we have some mutual friends in Arizona. Small world. It's very incestuous, this whole industry. But
Yeah.
Miles Sandowski
Yeah.
and Earth's Healing. Those are my people. I've worked with
Miles.
Earth's Healing. I've seen them grow from, the startup side of it to really just kicking ass and taking names. 'Cause I
Yeah.
feel like that's what they're doing at scale, like the scale they're at, and they're working in Colombia as well.
Oh yeah,
You
Cali.
know, yeah, they're working in Cali. I get to see their facilities down there. But they're just great people, and we mutually know them.
They are, man.
Um,
Yeah, Miles and his wife Stephanie, man. I love those guys. Tucson's a really small town,
Yeah.
right? And Grower's House was the only and the biggest place to get your cultivation supplies, right? So Miles would always stop by the warehouse as well as the house for pool parties and stuff. And
Nice.
just absolutely great people, man. He's growing heat. And he was their first grower. I mean, they really struck gold with him, Vicky and the Pucci family,
Yeah.
because he's kick ass. And yeah,
They struck gold with him. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, but they have such a good team.
they do.
Everybody plays a key role. Yeah, the people that play key roles at that company
Yeah.
are just so important, and they do such a good job. Eddie doing his extraction over
Yep.
there. And it's just, I love working with those guys. And Miles, he's the one out of all the people on this planet that changed my mind about Grodan and
Oh,
Rockwell. I completely did a 180-degree turn.
You were off
I
Rockwell.
was very anti,
okay.
even though I used I used Rockwell cubes for plugs,
Mm-hmm.
but I was anti Rockwell for anything else. And I feel like it was because I was uneducated.
He's been on it for a minute.
And he's dialed it in
Yeah.
on a whole nother level, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like when we did some pheno hunting together, popped some stuff from seed and then went through phenotypes, and he's really good at making the Plant Express, but the quality was bar none some of the best Rockwell I've ever seen. And
Yep.
for a commercial application, it is the Lamborghini, and it's like, because you can dial it in so much, right? And we both work with Grodan. I'm a huge Grodan
yeah.
fan now for specific uses. I think we use Grodan exclusively in the nursery for our moms and for
Okay.
our clones, and I do Grodan with some of the pheno hunting, but most of the pheno hunting that we're doing is with cocoa. But I have no problem with people growing in Rockwell. I think that as far as if you want something consistent, it is the most consistent product. The guys at Grodan will love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm a huge fan of the people that work at the company. It's another one that's like, it's hard to not like something. Once you meet the people at the company, it's like those people don't work there for just a paycheck. They work there because they believe in the product.
Mm-hmm.
Like so many other people that we work with.
And Miles, bring it back to 2017, 2018. I remember this. He was one of the OG testers of the Grow Sense model. So he actually brought me to his facility. I probably still could find a video of it. When he was just popping those in, he was showing me how it all works on his phone and everything.
And
so
you know who the tester of the new Grow Sense model is?
Autumn.
Me.
You? Oh, shit.
We're working on the new Grow Sense model.
Dude,
and I
full
love
circle.
It. Yeah. So Grodan sent me out the new sensors that just came out. You know, it's like there wasn't a lot of direction with them. And I really like their sensors. I really like the control that you have and the accuracy. It's just a really well made and really well thought through product.
Right.
You know, and I use Agritech and I use Grodan and I use the sensors for both. And I'm always comparing. We have a lot of redundancies in the facility. So I'm constantly like, okay, well, what did the humidity say from this, this, and this? Okay, well, 2 of them are the same and 1 of them is different. What's going on? Why am I getting this result? Is it because the sensor's wrong? Is it the placement? Is it this, or this? There's a huge list that we go down. And we do that all over the place because we're trying to dial in the results that we get.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's data-driven gardening, right?
It's data. And
that's what sets you apart. It's the future.
That's the future.
It's everything.
Everybody should be doing it. Not everybody's doing it, but everybody should be doing it. I mean, I'm not talking about home growers necessarily. You want to grow for fun. Of
course.
You want to grow your boutique
commercial at scale.
But you can still grow data-driven at home too. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just what level do you want to take it? How much time do you have to commit? How much money do you have to commit? All those things, you know, play a huge role. And then how much money do you have for R&D? Because that's another one that like it costs money, but at the end of the day, you learn a lot about not just the products, but about yourself. So, and how do you like to grow? Because there's 10 different ways to skin a cat, right? But what's the best and most easiest way for you? What's the most cost effective that still gives you the same quality product? And that's what I'm really looking for at the end. I want the best product possible for the least amount of money, whether it's with lighting, whether it's with nutrients, whether across the board. But really, it has to be the best product.
There's a lot of growers out there, James, still paying the green tax.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that we talk about at Grow World quite a bit is we do have 12 to 15 nutrient brands that you can try at all different price points. Same with lights, same with media. I think we have a pretty impressive roster of the top brands. Find the one that works the best for your facility at a price point that works for you, right? And the brands that are out there today that have, you know, kind of been around for a while, but have been charging those higher rates, I think the market's going to force them to either lower your price to what it should be or go out of business. I truly believe that.
And some of them, they have such a reputation and they've been doing it for so long that they have the trust in people that will never switch. They love it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You charge whatever you can charge because you're only able to charge what you're worth.
That's right.
Right. And so if people are paying that, that's what you're worth. Right. That's why people spend $1,800 on an ounce of NorCal Nemo Skittles for 1 ounce, $1,800. Right. But you're worth whatever someone will pay for you.
What the market will bear.
Whatever the market will bear, whatever people are willing to pay. That's what you can charge. You know, and you may need to try to figure that out. And maybe there's a happy medium to where, you know, you can charge less and still make a good amount of money. Maybe you charge that because your demand is so high that if you charge less, you're just going to blow through it because you create only a small amount of product. Yeah. So it's really interesting seeing what these people charge across the board and why they charge it. And I'm always trying to look like, why do they charge so much for this light? Are they really thinking that they're going to be able to sell this for that much more? And if they are selling it for that, why are they selling it for that? And do they get better results, right? Are you going to give me better results if I pay $500 more per fixture?
Right.
Maybe. It's worth testing.
But that's the thing. That's why Grow World exists is we are platforming those results.
Yeah.
Right. You are going to provide a grow journal of how that Kaya Coco Core worked versus XYZ solution. That's our vision, is help growers learn. Help them become a better version of themselves, because then they can go back to the manufacturers and say, hey, this performed better at a lower cost. That's why I'm switching.
Well, and you will never find me talking trash about another brand.
No.
I do not trash any of the companies that I test their stuff. If I don't like it, that's between me and maybe the company if they ask me, right? But it's not between me and the public. I don't need to downplay or pick sides with stuff. I just want to give people honest feedback. And I love that about what we do, where we can help growers by empowering them with stuff. But if I have a product I don't like, I'm not going to tell people I like it. That's the other thing, you know?
Yeah.
But the beauty of Grow World is, you know, you have all these Grow World ambassadors like myself, you know, and we're doing real-time testing on all this stuff. And you're able to collect data from all these people, you know, and I think and the other thing is like, I'm not in competition with a single other ambassador. And I don't think the other ambassadors feel like we're in competition either. It's all
collaboration at the top, competition at the bottom.
Totally. And I enjoy seeing the videos that these guys are creating and also learning more about what they're doing. And, you know, I talk pretty regularly to some of the other ambassadors, and we're always talking about how good products are, or, you know, what things could be done to improve the products that we already like. I mean, I love, you know, I'm doing this trial with Kaya. We're doing the Kaya cocoa.
Nice.
We're doing the charcoal. We're doing the Canna.
They're cocoa
right?
by Canna.
Yeah, the cocoa by Canna. That's the original.
They're
charcoal
all
is the
three
one
on Grow World.
They're all three on Grow World, and I'm very used to the charcoal. I do like the charcoal 100%. That one I know exactly how it performs, so that's the bar for me. And now Canna's the original, and then Kaya, and I'm using Kaya right now. I have a whole room, as you saw.
I saw that, yeah.
And so I'm super excited because I see how well the plants are performing with the Kaya. So I'm like, well, we'll see. And maybe I'll like all three for different reasons, or maybe I'll get some more results for all three. But I know charcoal works really well. And so I'm super excited to see two other brands that perform. So far, Kaya is performing equal to the charcoal. So
that's great to hear.
Yeah.
And for these manufacturers out there as well, I think it's super important that they listen.
Yeah.
Right? That they should have a forum to be able to ask you, how are the results?
Right.
I went to Powerhouse a couple of days ago with Serge and Kevin Crouch and those guys. And literally right when I walked in, there's like this little fabric lining underneath the Kaya compressed block.
Right.
And they're like, hey, what if we pull that out? What if instead we have some, you know, modification? And we got on the phone with Harish at Kaya Cocoa Core. And he's like already on the phone with India, you know, making the changes. He's already calculating how it would be manufactured. That's the feedback loop we need across the board. Lighting, substrate, nutrients.
Well, and direct contact with the consumers that are using the product that want to give you feedback. Because it's like, it's one thing people buy your stuff and they're uneducated, but it's another thing when you have a real grower, the real cultivator getting in, and it's able to give you real honest feedback on how you can make your product better.
Yeah.
Or your marketing or whatever it is. Like Beanstalk, they have killer packaging.
Yeah.
Like killer packaging. Right. And so, and their product, we had them on the podcast and we talked to Mother's Magnolia from Oregon. They swear by it. I'm super excited to try their flower because, you know, they're a really well-known brand up in that Eugene area.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I love to see Sergio starting to require at Connect events, if a brand wants to booth there, like a substrate, like a Kaya, right? They have to bring a grower that uses their product and booth right next to them. I love it. I mean, that's really how it should be. This most recent Connect event I went to a couple nights ago, there was like 30 booths there, right? 15 brands and 15, you know, flower brands that rock that Gavita Light or those GH Nudes or United, Kaya, etc.
Right.
That's how it should be. There should be more transparency around that relationship. And the consumer should extend all the way down to them as well, right? We go into a restaurant and grass-fed meat is called out on the menu, right? Versus whatever GMO this or that. I think that would be great if even down to the dispensary level, we had some transparency around, well, this was an organically grown product versus synthetic or this or that.
Yeah.
I think that would be a future that would make us a better consumer.
Yeah. And I'm all for organics and I'm all for synthetics, but I'm also for transparency.
Yeah.
Right. So I do love salts just as much as I love organic in a lot of ways. I do love some good organic flour, Flora and Flame, Canna Organics in Washington, but I also love my SF Canna weed. And I also love my House of Cultivar weed. And so there's something for everybody, and good cultivators grow good cannabis.
That's right.
At the end of the day, I think there's not just one way to do it. And so there's so much good cannabis out there if you know the right people. But as far as a whole, it's only a very small percentage of the industry.
Right. Yeah. And going back to our future market, 10, 20 years from now, it will be California weed just grown in Berlin, Melbourne, Medellin, right? Our weed will be all around the world, but it's going to be grown with the products they have.
Yeah,
right?
but I think that so my vision, and we can talk about this more on your podcast too, but my vision for the future is that we will have geoclimatized varieties grown outdoor or greenhouse all over the world, and that country will be known for this, this, and this. And I want to be part of that. Right? That's what I want to be part of.
Let's make it happen.
On a bigger scale. I want to be that guy who was like, I'm going to St. Vincent to gift them banana crosses, right? That I made. Their economy revolved around bananas. I went there. I had such a great time. So I'm gifting the country, the Minister of Agriculture, I'm gifting him in this awesome box, 20 banana crosses that I made for the island to give to the people.
Wow.
And so I would love it if they could grow those in an outdoor setting and export them all over the world. And so people could be like, I got that banana strain from St. Vincent and it was amazing. And even if they don't know that it was from me, I still did something that was like moving it forward. I think when we can move the plant forward, when we can empower people to do right by the plant, and, it can provide them with a lifestyle and them with money. I think that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
It is. It reminds me of my friend, Cameron Brovman. He's the host of Deep Roots Season 1, pre-Garrett, pre-Autumn. He goes around the world and builds world-class facilities. He recently went to South Africa, and he shared these photos with me, and they literally, from the facility that they built, were able to afford, once it was under production, a school, a football or soccer field, right? A market for the different, goods to be sold. They invested right back into the community. And that brings me back to strain hunters.
Aryan, totally.
That's literally what they do. Yeah.
And when he was in the Congo, they basically did a lot of good for the community. He helped change the law too. He spent a lot of money trying to change the laws there. And, a lot of this stuff, people don't even realize the amount of time and energy that goes into this stuff that sometimes you don't get credit for. Sometimes it changes, but it's the effort.
Yeah.
It's the effort that we all put forth. So, and I think within life, there's a lot of things you can do. You can live to make money. You can live to make the world a better place. And sometimes it's a balance of the two that, it makes your life complete.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I see there's this quote that in order for Bill Gates to be like the, biggest philanthropist in the world in his latter half of his career, he had to be a ruthless businessman in his first part of his career, right? I don't know if I completely agree with that, but I get it, right? In order to amass a great wealth, you can't do that from just being a philanthropist. But in order to have the impact of billions and potentially tens of billions of dollars given to causes you care about, that part is somewhat an asterisk next to Bill Gates. But to be able to give back and make that impact, you have to find that wealth somewhere, and you're going to have to earn it.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's ways to give back that don't cost as much money. Sometimes it's the little things.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes it's about awareness. Like we're giving back in the form of awareness and education. And I love that. I love the fact, I love giving back. It makes me feel good. Right. When I can make people more aware of something or empower them to grow better flower, because I think just talking about the plant, we're doing good for the world, because I think the stigma was cannabis was so bad for the longest time. And now we've kind of pushed that agenda and now we're normalizing it. So now let's create a better product for people.
I love that.
Yeah. So if you had one piece of advice for young entrepreneurs or people that are young with entrepreneurial mindset, they're interested in the cannabis space, what would that one piece of advice be?
Get a mentor. Find someone that has walked the path that you're looking to go down, that has accomplished something that you're looking to accomplish in your own career, and be a pest. Email them, call them, show up at their work or whatever, respectfully, and ask them to bring you under their wing. I almost don't believe in being self-made. At this point, I really do believe the coaches and the teachers and the parents as a kid. But past that point, once you're done with that part of your life, find a good mentor, find someone to kind of show you the road. And I have several mentors. Actually, one's right down the road. ATN at Berkeley Patient Group has been mentoring me for 5+ years.
He's another friend.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you guys knew each other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've known him for a long time.
Okay.
He's a great guy, and I've known BPG for a really long time. I used to vend there back in the day.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I get an hour of his time each month, and his only agreement when we first started 5 years ago was that I pay it back. I just find someone.
He's a great mentor, man.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
And I've never met him in person.
We should make that happen.
We're doing it. Yeah. This trip, I get to meet him for the first time.
Nice. You should interview him. In fact, I need to interview him as well.
I am going to interview him.
That's awesome.
I'm doing a Grow World podcast with ATN because he doesn't do a lot of public speaking, like podcasts. And that's my advice. He does speak
really well, though. He loves the plant too. He's another one that's really moved it forward.
Extremely intellectual, OG, all of that. I'm absolutely blessed that he said yes to mentor me. And I've had other mentors, right? And I think that's the fastest the fastest way for you to go from just figuring it out to, okay, now you're in. And maybe your mentor can even connect you to some people and teach you some things.
I'm so glad you said that, because on the last couple of shows, I've been talking about how I feel that culinary arts is very much like the cannabis industry.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the best ways, I'm not a huge fan of culinary school, although I do like Oaksterdam and kind of what they bring to the table. I am not a big fan of culinary school. I think the best way is to go get your hands dirty.
Oh, yeah. Work in a kitchen.
Yeah. And get a mentor, become an apprentice, work as a dishwasher and learn your skills and work your way up, and have somebody take you under their wing. And cannabis too. It's like, if you have somebody that believes in you, if you're a hard worker and you do way beyond what's expected, you will find somebody that'll take you under their wing, because those people aren't easy to find. And when you find them, you don't want to let go of them. So you want to educate them and make them even better. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And just your overall mindset of learning. I think we've talked a lot about that today.
Yeah.
But don't beat yourself up, and don't compare yourself to others. Just be 1% better than yourself yesterday.
Right. That's why the Japanese, they have much smaller increments of weights in their gym than we have over here. It's that whole mentality.
It is.
Gradual improvement.
Yeah.
So you don't need to put on another 45-pound plate.
No. 45 basis points. No,
yeah, totally. But if people are looking to find out more about you or want to know about the platform, where should they go?
Yeah, growworld.com for all of our growers and vendors that want to join the actual community. It's free for growers, and for vendors, we have all sorts of options. On Instagram, it's just growworldag or Nick_Morin. Nice.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm looking forward to doing some events and tours with you. I also, the Grow World platform is amazing. So you guys will see me more and more on there. And if you look for our collaboration posts, I've already done a bunch with you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Looking forward to doing this again.
Thank you for having me, James.
Absolutely. Cheers.